Yep, that's hitting. The red button is flashing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ready Bang, the Aussie Arm Wrestler podcast. I am your host, the Aussie Arm Wrestler, and as always, I am the official third place left-hand Melbourne amateur winner. This is the trophy everyone is after. But speaking of trophies and accolades, look at the guest I have today. It doesn't get much bigger than this. This guy is a two-time Hammer winner. He is a world champion. He is one of the strongest people in the world. This guy's even a reality TV show winner after having a 40-round super match with Travis Bajan, which I will get into a little bit later. I call him Dave Chafington III, Esquire Jr., but you know him as Easy Money Dave Chafee. Dave, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Man,
I'm glad you can.
So exciting. How you been, my man? How have you been?
I've been real good. Keeping busy with work and training. The kids and wife. It's a busy life. I'm happy, so I can't complain.
Mate, that is fantastic. And also, happy anniversary to you. You celebrated an anniversary with your wife the other day. And as always, in celebration, I will have a beer with Dave Chafee as I open that. I'm way too excited. So cheers to you, Dave Chafee.
I appreciate it. If I had a beer on me, I'd have one. I'd have one with you. But we'll pretend there's a beer. We'll drink a water.
Yeah. Well, if you're ever in Melbourne, mate, you'll never ever have to pay for a beer. The Aussie Arm Wrestler will look after you. Now, before we get into all the arm wrestling and before we get into how much of a bad dude you are, I just need to share my little fun story about us interacting. This is how nice Dave Chafee is, guys. So I was trying to organise a time for Dave to come on the show. And of course, he's given up his time. As you can see, I'm very lucky. So as I'm harassing Dave, we'll call it harassing because I'm a fan. As I was harassing and bothering Dave, I'm like, hey man, I'd love to come on the show, blah, blah, blah. I then get a notification on my phone. It's Dave Chafee's birthday. So Dave was interacting with me, and then afterwards I was like, oh, hey mate, it's your birthday here in Australia. Happy birthday. Thanks for coming on the show. I felt terrible after that.
No need to feel terrible. It's just another day. 44. It's all the same after a certain age. So, yeah, no worries at all.
Mate, you are looking spectacular at 44. Now, there's all this talk. Before we get into everything that you've done in your accolades, I have got arguably the strongest man on the planet on my show. You've been the strongest for years. There is all this talk at the moment about Levan and the monster Michael Todd. Now, you were supposed to pull Levan last year. So, what do you think of all of that that's going on over there with Larry Wheels? And how easy do you think you could beat all three of them?
They'd all be a challenge. It's interesting. Michael's over in Dubai now, having a great old time. I can't blame him. He's living his life, getting to pull some of the best people, hang out with some of the coolest and influential people on the internet and stuff. He's got Levan over there. He's doing some training. I don't know if they're doing matches or what they're going to do, but it's pretty cool for him. I haven't watched any of the videos or nothing like that. I've seen some of the stuff online, but haven't watched anything. I got to give Mike credit. He's doing his thing, so I'm happy for him.
So then, because you're a very laid back. You like to keep to yourself. You're not a very eccentric person. You just love staying in your lane. So is a Dubai trip something that you would be interested in? Like going over there and getting, because you've been treated like royalty before over at Zloty. So is this, if you were invited or just rang up, I mean, you could ring anyone up and they'd invite you over. But if you had the opportunity to go, would you go and do and train over there with Larry Wheels and get some Dave Chafee exposure to a new crowd?
Yeah, I would definitely go over there. I mean, I wouldn't be able to stay as long as Michael has, but I'd be able to go over for some time and do some training and have some fun. Absolutely, if I got invited, it'd be lots of fun. So yeah, for sure.
Internet, get on the bandwagon now. Get Dave Chaffee to Dubai. He would absolutely smoke them all over there. Get in the comments, say, everyone, Dave to Dubai now. Hashtag it, do whatever you young kids do. This man needs to get over there and just start burying people because you're not much of an internet person and you keep to yourself on social media. People are starting to forget about Dave Chaffee, and I don't like it. I don't think they're starting to forget about you, but there's all this talk. So I was very interested to go about that. Right, let's. So then, actually, we'll chop and change. So then, last year you were supposed to pull Levan in top 8. I mean, as an arm wrestling fan, I'm probably drooling now. As an arm wrestling fan, that was the match. I did a predictions video, go back in the archives, and not saying it because you're on the show, but I actually picked you, Mr. Dave. So how were you, let's just start, how were you feeling at the time against that monster?
I'm just so ready to pull the match. It's been postponed so many times. It's just very frustrating. Like it got announced in last February, so almost a year ago when I went over to Ukraine. I pulled Rimkes to get into the top 8, and then they announced it after that match. I was supposed to pull Levan top 8 April, and then COVID came around and it got postponed until June, and then it got postponed from June till Zloty in November, December, and it's postponed again. So yeah, it's frustrating. I've been training for like a year now to pull Levan. I was ready then. I'm ready now. I just want to get the thing done. I'm ready to go. So set it up.
Bang! Yes, and I cannot wait for that to happen. So then, how does that feel? Supreme athlete like yourself, world champion, and then you're taking on arguably the biggest match of your career. How does that feel when it's like you say you do your 8-week thing, and then they ring you up and go, "Oh, hey man, it's going to be another 4 months, and then another 4 months." How does that interfere with what you do?
Well, it's like you taking all the air out of you, basically. You're ready to go, and then it's like popping a balloon. You're like, oh, come on, because you train, you try to peak at a certain time. You're training real hard, get ready to go, and then next thing you know, it's postponed. Sorry, we don't know when it's going to happen, and then same thing. 3 months later, it's postponed again, and it's like I said, it's very frustrating. I want to get it done. I feel strong. I've been training, and hopefully this year, sometime, this year, COVID, it's not everybody's fault, unfortunately. It's COVID is just killing everything. Hopefully, it's taken care of. We get this thing done this year. So I'm ready.
I just love how calm you are. It's like, yeah, it was frustrating. I want to see Dave Chaffee get angry, like real angry. I just keep poking at you until we see Dave explode. It's real frustrating. Yeah, I'm ready. We all know you're ready. Oh, actually, I'd be pretty scared to see an angry Dave Chaffee. Now, at the time, because obviously you had to go to the Ukraine. How long were you there for? And when was the moment that you went, all right, well, I'm going back home?
Ukraine was it was February. Like it was a qualifying match to get into the top 8. I think I got there like on a Wednesday, and I competed, or Thursday, competed Sunday, and they had the drawing that night for the top 8 to pull against Levan. And I chuckled. I knew. I just had a feeling. I looked at my wife. I said, "I guarantee that the number is going to be, me and Levan." I just knew that's how it was going to get set up, and that's how it was set up. And then here we are, still a year from now, just waiting and waiting. So I don't know. I'm ready to go overseas again.
So when your number was pulled out and then it got postponed, did you just leave straight away, or did you come back home?
Yeah. It's because it was just a setup for the April thing. So they pulled a number for the setup. Yeah. It was like supposed to be like 3 months later or something like that. So.
Now I'm very interested in the work that you do. Now, I'm sure everyone knows, but for those that don't, Dave, I'm not sure if you currently still are, but you're a corrections officer. Now, that's a polite term for keeping criminals in jail in line. Like, Dave gets the SWAT gear, and if anyone comes out of line, whack! He will just make sure that all these people are staying in their lane. And I tell you what, when you put on that suit of armour, it's does that really get you jacked up? Like when it's like, holy crap, it's, you know, the alarm sounds off, something's happening in the yard. I'm only going off movie terms, mate. I could be completely wrong. Because then that would be my first question. What you see on the movies, is that anything similar at all to what you do, or is it just been Hollywood up?
Well, sorry to disappoint you a little bit, but it's not quite like that. Usually, when it comes to the getting in the gear like that, someone won't come out of their cell and they're just being irrational and doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. And then usually by the time we get there, 99% of the time they cuff up and come, you know what I mean? And that's it. Sometimes we do, get to go in with a shield and stuff like that. But personally, I'd really like to have an easy day that, 8 hours, come in and do my little thing and go home. But yeah, every now and again you do get, some entertainment like that, and you get to run in on somebody and shit happens, and it's part of the job, but you got to do it.
Oh, no, that's right. Actually, the nice guy in me is actually kind of glad that it's not as busy as it is in Hollywood, because imagine turning up every day having to deal with that. That is ridiculous. And I reckon you just scare them all. I think that's why they're pretty well behaved. I think they don't want to come out of the cell because they're like, Dave's on shift. No. Dave's on shift. I am not going anywhere. That man scares me. I reckon that's what happened. So then two things. One, what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen? What's the you don't have to go too graphic or something, but what's one of the weirdest things you just sat there and gone, oh, I need a new job?
You get some really nasty stuff going on there. People throwing their feces and urine out their cell, just trying to hit you with stuff. There's a part of the job that's really, really, it's not fun. You hope you don't have to deal with that, but just now and again, it is what it is. But the stuff that's basically the stuff like that. And you'll walk by, you'll see someone doing some. I'm not going to get into what they're doing, but they're by themselves. I mean?
Well, I actually feel pretty good because Dave, you and I have something in common. We have both had plenty of feces thrown at us. I spent 12 years looking after people with intellectual disability, so I've had that whilst caring for people. Your people are a bit more dangerous than my people. I was caring for them. The second thing I want to ask, you've been in this job for quite a while. There's some pretty bad dudes, or dudes that back up what they say. So when you go to an arm wrestling event and people scream at each other and try and act tough, do you just laugh at them and just think, okay, kids, all right, you can try and act tough, but I kind of deal with these guys that actually back up what they're saying on a daily basis? Do you just laugh at people?
Yeah, kind of in my head, you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty much, most of the time, I'm calm and collected for the most part. Because I'm always ready. You got to be ready, like with my job, because something could always pop off. You never know. So yeah, when I see people acting, a fool, I'm just like, whatever. Roll my eyes in my head. I'm not about that at all. So it's kind of funny.
But yeah, so I just find it, watching. I've watched a lot of your matches and see people screaming and up and about, and it's just like, man, do people understand what this guy does for a job? Like, you're not bothering him. You're not intimidating him. Plus, he's a giant. It's awesome. So then, if we go back, and I'm not sure, I've heard the story. I've even seen the footage, but I want to know how one person goes from this point to, well, you can tell everyone what happened 3 years later, but I finally saw the footage. And if you haven't seen it out there, guys, it's not the best footage. But in 2007, I think you're only 12 months into the sport, and yeah, snap went your arm, and I saw the footage, and it didn't look too crash hot. It was probably one of the worst ones I've watched. I don't go around and searching arm breaks, but you broke your arm within 12 months of being in the sport. So how did you feel when that happened?
Well, that was actually only 3 months into the sport. My first event was November of 2006, and then February of 2012 is when I'm sorry, not 2012, 2007 is when I broke my arm. So yeah, three months in, and it was quite an interesting thing. I was at the Ohio State's amateur. I cut weight to get down to 231. I cut way too much weight. I don't know what I was doing. I was like 5 pounds or 6 pounds under or something like that. It was ridiculous. So we get there, I do the weight cut and get in. I'm all excited. I win my first match. And I think it was my second. I want to say it was my second match. I was against Doug Allen, who's a really good puller. We were both amateurs back then, and he pulled him in, and we were kind of going at it. And my elbow went off the back of the pad, and I remember the ref saying, "Get back on," and my arm just went. And I remember Doug looking at me. He's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry." And I looked down. I was like, "It's not your fault," whatever. I didn't even know what happened. I had so much adrenaline going on until you sit down. You're like, oh shit, this hurts.
Yeah, your reaction was unbelievable. So for those that haven't seen it, it just literally goes sideways. It goes sideways, and you see it. You can if you watched it on mute, you could probably still hear it, and it just goes sideways, and then you just kind of grab it and go, oh, yeah, all right, off I go, and I'm like, oh man, oh wow, this guy's a tough dude. So then 3 months in, your arm snapped. Where do I go with these things? Because I find this story fascinating. First of all, why don't you tell everyone what your dad said when that happened?
Oh yeah, well, first off, we'll go to when I went to the hospital. They take me to the hospital, and the guy, I told him I broke my arm, and he, for whatever reason, he thinks that I broke my forearm. So I'm like, no, I didn't. I broke my humerus up here. So they took an X-ray. Like, we can't find the break. I said, of course you can't find the break. I told you I broke my arm, my humerus up there. Oh, okay. So then they figured that out, and yeah, it was unbelievable. Like, it was just kind of like it was a really small town. And then I go back into the nurses are taking care of me, and they're putting a splint on. And I'm in horrible pain. It's taken like forever to put it on. They finally get it on like after like 15 minutes. And I'm like, oh, thank God, I'm in miserable pain. Leave. They come back and 10 minutes later, like, oh, sir, we're really sorry. We put the wrong type of splint on. The doctor's on the internet right now trying to figure out which type of splint to put on. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that was fun. And then I remember going back to the hotel afterwards. My dad's like, he's like, hey, it's about time you probably find a new hobby. Because he was a big, he passed away a few years ago, but he was my biggest fan all through, he loved going to all my sporting events, and even through adulthood, he just supported everything I did. And he's like, I think it's about time you find a new hobby. What do you think? He's like, no way. I'm like, no way, Dad. I'm be world champ someday. And I knew that I could be good. I just had the feeling. So,
and then they put the wrong spin. I've had so many hospital mishaps, but we'll have to share those stories another time. Well, then tell everyone what you did 3 years later after snapping your arm early on. Tell everyone what you did in 2010.
Oh, 2010? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 3 years after that. Yeah, I won the WF World Championship.
So yeah, become a world champion. Breaks his arm 3 months in. I train with people, and they've been training for 12, 15 months and haven't even had a super match or anything like that, or competed in a tournament. You break your arm in 3 months, and then 3 years later, world champion. How does that feel? You're sitting up there, you're holding the flag, world champion, and you're there, and there's no one else higher than you on the podium. How does that feel? I feel I'm the world champion of Arm Wrestling Podcast. Haven't been officially given that title yet, but how does it feel when they call you up there, Dave?
It's pretty awesome. You get when you're competing there. You got your. It was in the United States actually that year, which was pretty cool. So you had the whole crowd's chanting USA, USA, and then when you get on the podium and they're doing the national anthem and stuff, it was just the feeling's incredible. Like it's hard to really explain. It's just you're really emotional and like your goal has been completed. It's just awesome.
Oh yeah, it would be unbelievable. Now I've got to. Not rain on your parade or anything, but I was watching the final of the Worlds, and you ended up winning on elbow fouls.
It was actually it was false starts.
False starts.
I had beaten him. I beat him earlier in the tournament, and then he worked his way back to the final. Sergey Tokarev. He won. He's a world champion also. Real good puller, so it was a huge win. And then we got to the finals, and unfortunately he kept false starting, and I didn't want to win that way, but it is what it is. So
that's just the rules. But yeah, I mean, still, you had to get there and world champion, and you beat him earlier in the tournament, so it's not like you hadn't pinned him for the day. Did it take anything away from it because I was watching it, and it's like second false start, and they just went, Dave's the winner, and then you just looked and went, yeah! It was like that split delay, like, I'm world champion now.
Yeah, like I didn't want to win that way. I was ready for the match, and then they called a foul. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me, man. I don't want to win like this. But then I'm like, okay, I just won a world title, so it's pretty damn cool. Because no one from the United States had won a right-handed world title in the Open in like 6 or 7 years, and then I don't think anybody has won a right-handed since from the United States in the Open that Cody won left-handed last year, I believe, or 2019 or something like that. But that's right-handed. I don't think anybody's won since from the United States.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. Just it's like bang, being a world champion, and so you've done that. You're taking on the world. Now this is two that I kind of want to compare. So then 3 years later, you take on the cyborg with the biggest sausage fingers I have ever seen. This guy wears a hula hoop for a watch. Like, it is ridiculous. And then you basically pin him twice. And we're talking about Denis Seblikov. Of course we're talking about it. I cannot talk to Dave Chafee unless we talk about this match. This is unbelievable stuff. You went over there and you beat the arm wrestling god at the time. Twice, convincingly. I know they were like calling elbow fouls, but that was just him running away. So what was it like? 1, going over there. 2, pulling Denis. And then 3, beating that cyborg sausage-fingered man.
Yeah, going over there just to begin with was awesome. It was my first trip overseas. Warsaw, Poland. Was over there, and Tim Breslin was over there, and Christian Binney was over there. So we had a good time and stuff. And everybody was talking about Denis. He's a god and he can't be beat. And I trained. I knew I had a feeling I was gonna pull him, obviously, and I trained for him. I knew exactly what I was gonna do over and over in my head because I visualized everything. And I remember that first match is exactly what happened. It's exactly how I saw it going down in my head. And when I got the win, it was like surreal. It was crazy. Like everybody was like, "Oh my God, you beat Denis. Nobody's beaten him." And it was incredible. Everybody wants to get a picture taken with you. And that was like my first experience in arm wrestling where everybody getting your picture taken with people and let me get your autograph. I was like, wow, this is kind of weird, but it was pretty cool. It was cool. So.
Oh, absolutely. And you just grabbed his big hand and pinned him twice. I reckon at least 100,000 times I've watched that. Because even when I still watch it, I'm like, oh my God, he's done it with ease. With, as much. When you just watch it, there was no defensive position from you at that time. So when you compare the two, your world championship and Denis, which win was better?
That's a tough one. I'd have to say they're on par with each other. I mean, just winning the world title was awesome. Doing it in front of the United States crowd, amazing. But going over there and beating somebody who people say basically couldn't be beat and no one was expecting me to have a chance. And just the way it went down, it was incredible. So I don't know if I could even pick one. They're both right at the top right there. So I don't know.
Oh, damn it. Oh, I thought I was going to get you. I thought I was going to get an answer from you. So then you've gone and pinned Dennis, and then you come back home and suddenly, well, first of all, how different was it? You've just gone and pinned the strongest ever. The guy was on years undefeated. And then you come home. Was it weird, like just going to work Monday and like just turning up, and some of America not understanding what you have just accomplished?
That was normal to me because I think probably like 4 people in America knew what happened, maybe 5 or something like that. So it's, you know what I mean? Arm wrestling's not super popular over here. So I was just used to, my friends, they watched it, friends, my training partners and stuff like that, all the arm wrestlers over here, you get all the messages, but other than that community, nobody knows. And that's, what I expected. So I'm just used to it. I just go back to work and that's another Monday,
That's what I find hilarious, world champion, treated like a god, everyone over there, photos, the works, autographs, things like that. And then you come back home and it's like, hi babe, just pinned Dennis, probably should go to work. All right then.
Yeah. I'm just a regular guy, you know what I mean? I work at a prison and I train. Arm wrestling is fun for me. I train my ass off and try to be the best I can, but that's just my life. I expect it. I'm just a, average guy,
No, an average guy with elite strength. I don't think you're an average guy at all. So from there, you have pinned Dennis. Bang! Love it. Then all of a sudden, you're on TV. You are on the hit reality show Game of Arms. Now, before I get into it, I'm going to have to call you out, Mr. Dave. I'm going to have to call you out. There is one part, and it's in like episode 7 or 8. You are doing something that I reckon, but you did play sports when you were younger. But just watching this footage, you are doing something with Travis Bagent, and 2 things I'm thinking. It's one of you don't do this. And you were both running. They filmed you 2 going for a leisurely jog, and I was watching it like, the Dave, being a big super heavyweight, he doesn't really just go for runs and it's, a good background or snowing or something like that. And I can't see, Travis Bagent used to play baseball, but I'm like, I can't see them running in their daily thing. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Do you guys actually go for runs?
No, I definitely don't go. I'll run to the refrigerator if I'm hungry or something like that. That is it. I don't run anywhere at all. Never.
Yeah, nope. Like I can't even picture you running a bath. I was just watching it. And it was hilarious. You're both jogging. Like, 6 mile run. And, and those. The one thing I love about those reality shows is those forced conversations. You guys are going for a run and then it's like, oh, man, you suddenly stop at a park bench and it's like, oh, Dave, you've got so-and-so this week. How do you think you feel? Like, no one talks like that.
It was a fun experience, but it wasn't really my cup of tea. I don't like being in front of a camera and stuff. Personally, I'm quiet. I'm quiet. I keep to myself, and it was weird for me. It was fun. I had a lot of fun doing it. Great experience. But yeah, there's a lot of the show that I was just like, whatever, come on. So
yeah, and you can tell that you were in front of, because you are a character in yourself, and you didn't get overly. It's hard when you've got Travis Bagent on your team to get camera time, but you could just tell you were very happy, and it was quite funny because you had to pull left arm in the team stages because nah, you're too strong for this show. I wonder if the producers were actually arm wrestling fans, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll get this Dave guy, we'll get him on, and he's just pinned the strongest man in the world, and it's like, oh, can you pull with your other arm?
what it was. You got to pull left-handed because the matches wouldn't be competitive otherwise. So they make him they want to make him as competitive as possible for TV and stuff. So that's why I had all the left-handed matches before the finals.
Now, speaking of the finals, that's the one thing I really wanted to sink my teeth into. Spoiler alert, anyone, if you haven't seen the show, it's like 6-7 years old, so go and watch it. It's actually quite entertaining. But in the final, they had a best of three or best of 5 in the finals, right? But then you get to Dave and Travis Bagent, and they had to stop after 40 rounds. 40 or 38 or something. So the way the setup is because Dave was superior on his right, and we all know Travis is like a 9-time, 10-time left arm world champion. They took it in turns. They went right arm, left arm, and you had to win 2 in a row. So you had to basically pin the other guy on his better arm. And yeah, describe that to... Actually, before you describe it to us, it was funny watching all these big, jacked up men, like almost in tears, like you were dying. It was like, oh, stop it. Oh, stop pulling. Oh, guys, 2 champs. Oh, stop it. They're tired. These 2 guys have been doing this their whole life. Oh, they're tired. But 38, 40 rounds, man. Tell me about it.
Well, first off, they didn't show all what went on before that. I went through the right hand the tournament, then I beat Travis in the finals of that. After I beat him again, or before that, then they didn't show this on TV, but they had an overall right hander where I had to beat every weight class winner, best 2 out of 3, boom, boom, boom. They didn't show that. Then they had me and Travis go at it 40 times. So yeah.
So why would they have you? So you would have pinned Kenny Hughes, Luke King,
Kenny Hughes, and Craig Tullier. Boom, boom, boom.
So no slouches. I mean, you would have put them away easy. But why would they do the overalls before the super heavyweight final?
Probably wanted Travis to win. It would be my guess. He was their guy for the show. I was the quiet guy, he's more for TV. So I'm sure that had something to do with it. I mean, so that just pissed me off. And I was like, F you, I'm going to kill everybody. I don't care. So I was fired up.
It was good a glimpse into it because in one of the earlier episodes, you're like, yeah, Travis is my teammate and, we're doing so well. And then once it got to that final episode, you wouldn't even look at him like, get out of my way. I'm running through everyone. I don't care about you. I don't like what you do on the table. I hate what you do. I'm running through everyone. And I was like, yes, that's the Dave. I didn't want this jogging Dave in the park like a Sunday morning mum. I didn't want him. I wanted this guy. This is the guy. So, go through the 40 rounds. It's quite unbelievable stuff, guys. And we've all been there when we're training. But, these guys couldn't stop. They're having their small breaks, and they just kept going and going and going. How are your arms? When did you sit there and think, oh, this is getting a bit ridiculous? Did you ever think about it? Because you screamed at one stage, I'm not stopping. I'm not giving up. Was there a point where you thought, 2 champs isn't a bad idea? Tell me about it.
No, I mean, I was ready to go. I would have never lost right-handed at all that day. There was no way in hell I was losing. I wasn't even supposed to pull left-handed. I told them weeks before I wasn't pulling left-handed in the finals because they had some tournament beforehand with 6 people or whatever. And then Travis won that, and they wanted me to pull, Travis in the finals. And we had this little meeting the night before, and basically strong arm me into pulling left-handed to, for TV. I was like, whatever, I'll just do it. My arm was hurt from pulling left-handed the 2 or 3 times before. It wasn't right, but I agreed to do it. And we started off, and there was really no chance he was going to beat me right-handed. There was no chance I was going to beat him left-handed. I tried. My arm was in pain, and my left arm was in pain, and my right arm was, gold that day. It just wasn't going to lose. And in my frame of mind, I was just frustrated, mad, for the way things turned out and the way they kind of did me a little bit. And we went on and on and on and on, and everybody's like, oh, we got to stop this. And I didn't want to stop it. I'd have kept going. I'm a competitor, but it probably would, like I said, it probably would have went on forever. So you had to stop it eventually. And, I think it was like a 38th round or 36th round or something like that. And they decided to call it two champs and stuff.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. Yeah, chanting two champs and things like that. I was like, oh, that's a bit corny, guys. Come on now. But yeah, just watching it. Yeah, you weren't. There was no way anyone could have turned up that day. You weren't losing on the right arm, and Travis is phenomenal on the left. So when I was watching it, I was very intrigued. And then once it got to about, I think, the 10th round, I was like, well, they're both fatigued on their weaker arm, so this will never end. And that's what I was genuinely thinking. And then they just went through the highlights and stopped after 38 rounds. 38 rounds, guys. Go and watch it. If you do what you got to do. So what I did in Australia's got a VPN, watched it. It's unreal. Even if you just go straight to the last episode, you've got to watch it. You've got to watch this unbelievable 38-round super match. So from there, you get WAL contracts. You smashed out 2 right-hand hammers. Your track record of beating people is unbelievable. The names that are on your hit list are phenomenal. They are phenomenal. You've beat Barbosa, Krasmir, you've beat Travis Bajan, Sam Marcio. Who else did I write down? I mean, you've just beaten like the creme de la creme. And then unfortunately, we're going to talk about a loss. We're going to talk about a loss. You did a pre-match interview with Neil Pickup, Michael Todd, and Devon, and you looked uncomfortable. You looked uncomfortable being there. So before we get to the actual match, how did you feel doing that little 15-minute pre-game talk? Because you're not all about that at all. So how did you feel being in there? Because they were trying to hype up a trash talker versus, an old school, it's respect, shake hands, let's just all get along.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable for me. I don't like getting involved in that at all. Devin, he's a showman. He likes to talk things up, and he pushes the limit and stuff, and he's good at what he does. Me, I didn't really want to talk about shit. So I like to do it on the table, but they kept pushing the issue basically, so I kind of got pushed in the corner. I had to say something, so it just went where it was, and I don't like doing those interviews at all, but people like to watch them, so whatever.
Yeah, look, yeah, I get, and it'll help hype it up, but yeah, you were just giving them nothing, and they just kept trying to poke at you at that. It was, guys, if you haven't watched it, then you're missing out on something, because I don't understand, because what are you, 6'4", 6'3", 6'4"?
No, I'm about 6'2".
6'2", about 6'2". 6'2", but, an absolute giant. So I sometimes get fascinated that they just, want to get someone of your size so jacked up and so angry. It's just like, man. And they kept, Neil's fantastic at what he was doing, but Devin was trying to poke the bear, and Michael would throw in a few little jabs. And I understand they've got to do it so people come and watch, so then therefore you guys can be full-time athletes. So then, how were you feeling when you got to the match? It obviously didn't go your way, but how were you feeling at the time? And did any of that talking bother you?
No, the talking doesn't bother me at all. I'm used to, the people running their mouth and stuff like that. The match kind of went like I thought it was going to go. I kind of figured he was going to do the King's move. I hate talking about this match. It was one of the ugliest matches ever. It's kind of embarrassing. I won the first round. They took it away on the video or whatever. Then I beat him again to go up 1-0. And then I watched the match right after that, right before Devin got in that King's move, and it lasted forever. And I've had people send me it. It looked like a pin, and it could have changed everything. The way the match could have went. It is what it is. Changed the outcome of the match. It could have, but whatever. And then we went to that doubles king move. It was just absurd. Just the ugliest match in history. But like I always say, Devin, he did what he had to do to win. I got to give him 100% credit. I don't blame him for what he did. Yeah, so he got the win.
So it was. I actually quite in entertainment purposes. I quite enjoyed it. I was kind of hoping you would get a win because Devin will always be Devin. He'll always be at the top, and he's very entertaining, very charismatic. So I was kind of hoping because he'll always get his hammer shots. That's not a problem. So I was kind of hoping you would get it because I wanted you to go back and have another crack at Michael Todd. So I was kind of hoping for that. I didn't mind who won, but at one stage I was kind of like, oh, come on, Dave. Get on there. So then 2020, the 600 series. Because you were involved in Top 8, did that mean that you weren't contracted for the 600 series?
Yeah, I've always had a good time and a good relationship with Steve from WL. We've always been cool with each other. And it was 2000 when the first Top 8 came out. I wanted to do it. And since I was contracted with WL, I couldn't do it. I wasn't happy about it. I talked to them, and they said, there was a season with Devin and Michael. I was like, do that year, and if you're not happy, you can go do Top 8 and do your own thing. So I did, and I contacted him after the year, and he's kept up. He said what he was going to do, and yeah, I wouldn't be involved in WL. Contract stuff anymore. So, yeah.
Oh, that's all right. At least he was good to his word. Because sometimes Steve gets a bad rap, but it's good to hear a good story. Like he wanted you for your contracted year, and then you wanted to go do Top 8. So it was good that he said, "All right, off you go," and things like that. So is that the goal now? Is that the goal? It's win Top 8, and then maybe come back in a couple of years to WAL. What's the You're a very goal-driven person. What's the ultimate goal for Dave Chaffee right now?
Yeah, that's why I left with WL. Like, there's really not much more for me to do at the moment. I've got wins on pretty much everybody there. And Top 8, all the guys that were competing, like Levon and Latin, mainly the top two. Prudnick, I've never pulled. All these guys I've never pulled, I wanted to pull. So that's the main reason why I wanted to go do the Top 8. And, hopefully, this year it takes place. Maybe I'll win. If I'm lucky enough, we'll see what happens. And then, after that, I just go with the flow. Maybe, things will come my way. Maybe I'll go back. It's hard to tell the future, but I'm training. I'm strong as I've ever been in most places. So I'm just look forward to the future. So
that is a scary thing. Do you have any any upcoming super matches or anything, to fill in the time, or is it now, because we're in 2021, it is solely training for Top 8 until you hear anything different?
I have a super match with my cable pulley in about a half hour, but other than that, I have nothing going on I can think of.
Come on, cable pulley! Come on, cable! I reckon I might have the cable pulley. They've just got that endurance. They never seem to stop. So until you let go, so they're pretty endurable.
I've yet to beat them yet, so I'm trying. We'll see. Maybe I'll get lucky today. Who knows?
All right, Dave. When anyone comes on the show, you have to play my favourite game that I love playing with everyone on the show. I'm going to give you the name of 3 pullers. You have to decide which one you're going to pin, which one you're going to lose to, and which one you are going to say you're not allowed to compete in 2021, whether that be WAL Top 8. You're not allowed to compete. You're gone from 2021. Are you ready?
Okay.
Monster Michael Todd, Levan, and Devin.
What are my 3 answers again?
So you've got to decide, out of Monster Michael Todd, Levan, and Devin, out of those 3 guys, you've got to decide which one you're going to pin, which one you're going to lose to, and then which one you're going to say, you're 2021. Nah, you're not allowed to compete. I'm banishing you.
I'm going to pin Levan, lose to Michael Todd, and Devin, you're banished for all your trash talk. So we'll go with that.
I thought that might have been the way that it had gone. So there it is, guys. He's pinning that absolute Gorilla Silverback. He's pinning Levan. He's losing to Monster Michael Todd, and he's graciously done that. He's had some fantastic battles with that. And yeah, unfortunately, Devin, you are gone. You are banished. According to Dave, you are banished this year. No more for you. Alrighty. And then the next thing, before we wrap up, because I unfortunately talk way too much, and because I've got you on the show, Dave, I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and without thinking, quick fire, bang, need you to answer them. Are you ready to go?
You realize I'm very slow, right?
All right, well, I'll take the time. Do you prefer super matches or tournaments?
I like tournaments better.
Oh, wow. That's very interesting. You surprised me there. I thought you were a super match kind of guy. Are you a fan of the King's move?
No.
Are you ashamed of whipping out the double King's move at WAL?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Thank you for answering that honestly. Thank you. Look gross. I don't mind the King's move, but the double King's move just looks gross. How many rounds would have you gone with Travis Bajan in the Game of Arms final?
We would have gone forever. You know, they would have never ended. There's no way. Like I said, there's no way he would have beaten my right arm, and there's no way I was beating his left. So it would have gone forever, all night long. I don't think anybody would have beaten anybody.
Yeah, that sounds very right. Who kept the trophy?
I don't even remember. I don't.
So, Travis, whose trash talk do you hate the most?
Oh, man. I'll go with Devin.
Okay.
Yeah, he can get to you.
As a talker, a part of me loves it. But then, you know, when I have a chat with, you know, guys like yourself, I'm like, oh, maybe back off. Dave's a really nice guy. Back off.
Devin's a great dude. He's a great dude off. But on the table, no, not at all.
Who looks better bald, you or Michael Todd?
Oh, me, absolutely. Come on now.
Yes. Are you stronger with or without hair?
We'll go without hair because I'm stronger now than I was a few years ago. So we'll go without hair.
Watch out, everyone. Dave is looking sharp bald, so he's very strong. And then the last question, can I call you David?
Only my wife calls me that, sorry.
I thought about at the start, how many times could I sneak in calling you David throughout the thing to see if you would notice? But then I was like, no, I don't really want to put a 10-minute interview up because you've cracked it and hung up on me. So I thought, I'll ask you at the end. Because I thought it might have been a thing like, when you're in trouble, David. I was like, man.
I David a lot at home.
When a 6'2" super heavyweight corrections officer, I thought I'd better ask first, you know. Alrighty. 2 things need you to do before we wrap up the show. 1, I'll get you to nominate someone who you think will have a bit of fun on the show.
Have you had Dan Mosier on the show?
Yes, had Dan Mosier a few episodes back. He was fantastic.
Well, now I got to think of somebody else. Jeez. What about my good buddy Bart Wood, referee?
I've been trying to get Bart on the show. Absolutely. You have nominated Bart Wood. Fantastic. I'd love to get Bart on the show. And now, with my catchphrase at the start of every match, I go, ready, bang! I need to see Dave make his impersonation.
You want to do ready, bang? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
All right. Ready, bang!
Yeah, he's giving it a go. It might have fizzled out a bit, but this is a super heavyweight world champion. That will be it for this one. It was too exciting. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, Dave. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Guys, make sure you keep an eye on Dave's social medias and really support him when he gets behind any sort of matches, because this guy will be dominant forever. When this COVID is over, Dave will go straight back to the top where he belongs. Guys, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Dave, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate you taking the time out and just chatting to a guy from Melbourne in his kitchen.
Thanks, man. My pleasure. I had a lot of fun on the interview, so I appreciate it.
My man. Guys, make sure you subscribe, do all the things, share it, tell all your mates that I've had a great chat with Dave Chaffee. I really appreciate it. Guys, we will see you next time.